All right, welcome everybody. It looks like my internet luck is running short again. I have been having, for whatever reason, the worst problems ever with my computer system. And so I just want to make sure that I can be heard. All right. Maybe if somebody can in the chat can let me know if you can hear me and see me clearly. Am I running slow? Um, all right. So Lucy is saying that she cannot hear me. Alan is able to hear me loud and clear. Everybody else is able to hear me loud and clear. All right. So on my screen, it's looking a little wonky, but that could very well just be me. And I hope so, because I don't want to have to stop this and restart it. That's really going to put a huge damper on things. But welcome, everybody. My name is Daryl Roberts. I'm a naturopathic doctor. And I am doing this particular class to go over the AO scanner and to answer some questions that people have been having for quite some time. And I'm hoping that I can do this. So for the last, I think, 15 weeks or so, I've been teaching a class called the AO Scanner Simplified. And I've been doing it mostly for the people who are in my membership group. And we've gone through all of the areas of the portal of not the portal. We've gone through all of the areas of the AO scanner so that we can teach people how to utilize it, how the average person can get in there and understand really how to use their system. But one of the things that continues to come up are for people who are not inside of this membership or mentorship. How can they get in here and ask questions? And so that's what tonight is all about. So I'm going to briefly go over the AO scanner, some of my understanding of the AO scanner, some of my experience with the AO scanner, some of the reports or the reports that are available. But the main goal is to get you all to be able to ask questions. So we have two different formats going on here. Some of you are looking at this in Zoom, in the actual classroom, and others of you are looking at this on YouTube. And others of you have asked questions in the mentorship, and we're going to try to get to all of that tonight, assuming that the internet and my system holds up. All right? So first of all, let me tell you how I came to Solex, or the AO scanner. I've been working as a naturopathic doctor for quite some time. And about 3 years ago, I was at a conference, and I go to conferences constantly. I was just at one last month, and I'll be at one next month and one in March. Also, the Solex conferences, I've spoken at the last 2 Day of Discoveries, and I have a course right now on inner voice in Solex University. But it all started about 3 years ago. I was at one of these conferences, and Sheila Day was sitting in front of me. Don't know whether or not you all know Sheila, but Sheila Day was sitting in front of me, and she was going over the AO scanner with a couple of people. Now, I've known Sheila for quite some time, so I felt comfortable eavesdropping in her conversation. Sheila and I both went to Trinity School of Natural Health. And she was talking about it so intently that Sheila was in the first row. I was almost directly behind her in the second row. And at a certain point, I came up to the first row because I wanted to hear firsthand about this scanning system that she had. And she went over it with me, and she ended up she took my profile that night, and she ended up doing a scan on me when she got back to her hotel room. She sent me the scans, and when I got it, it resonated with me. Now, the inner voice portion of it resonated with me more than anything because in my practice, I currently have always used sound therapy as a way to get through resonance, resonating frequencies of the liver, of the heart, of the brain, of the kidneys, of various organs. And so I understood the concept of what frequency in sound can do to the body. I understood that. I also understood what the frequency of sound can do to the emotions. As a certified flower essence therapist, I was able to understand frequency and how frequency balances emotions. but I also understood how those same frequencies can be translated into sound and used in the same way. Frequency is not different because it's homeopathy or because it's sound or because it's using quantum entanglement. Frequency is frequency, and the delivery system of that frequency might be different. So you can choose whatever delivery system best suits you. But when it gets to the body reads the frequency, and the body doesn't care how the frequency came in. The goal is to get the frequency in. So I signed up the next day, or maybe it was even that night. I don't know. But I only thought that I'd be using inner voice. That was my goal. I was going to use inner voice to supplement the sound therapy that I was already using, because inner voice was going to allow me to up my game with my clients, so I thought. But after I started using inner voice, I was able to understand that the vitals and the comprehensive and the body system and the Cephis and all of these other nuanced differences in the AO scanner were just as beneficial to my practice as inner voice. And that changed things, because I've been using biofeedback in my practice for quite some time. I still use a few different biofeedbacks in my practice. But inner voice had all of these biofeedback aspects to it. And while it was different from the way I traditionally use it, I didn't find the information less valuable. It's very, very valuable. I do find that the reports are so detailed that it can get in the way, which is the reason I teach classes on how to get around that. But I ended up going so hard on the AO scanner, meaning learning it. And when I'm really into something, I obsess over it. And so within about 2 or 3 months, I was, I don't want to say I'd mastered the AO scanner, but I had gotten through all of the nuanced aspects of what was available to me. So much so that I started asking questions that couldn't be answered. And in fact, I asked questions in the Solex Facebook group. And one of the questions that I asked, I got what I thought was the wrong answer. I accepted the answer for a while until I saw Lauren do an interview. And in that interview, he said something that made me think that my original thought was correct. So I brought that back to the group and asked for clarification. Nobody could give me this clarification that I wanted. So my phone rang one day, and it rang again the next day, and it rang again the next day. This time a voicemail was left, and the voicemail, I should have grabbed that voicemail and played it. I should have done that. But the voicemail said, Daryl, this is Lauren Swinson, president of Solex. I've been trying to reach you. Give me a call. And so I called, and he said that my question needed to be answered by him. And we talked for about an hour. I didn't even expect that, but we talked for about an hour. And the next thing I knew, I was on stage at Day of Discovery introducing MindSync, or helping to introduce MindSync. And this last Day of Discovery, I talked about quantum entanglement and inner voice, which led, of course, to the opening of my inner voice course. And so that is my history with Solex. That's my history with the AO scanner, and that's how all of this came about to be. And so here tonight, some of you may have been invited by people who are in my membership. Some of you may have just seen my post. Some of you may have gotten an email. But I wanted everybody to just come in, because my goal is to open up the floor for question and answer. And when we get to question and answer, I can't answer questions in such detail as I might teach in a class. But if there is something that you just don't get, or you don't know how to explain, if I know how to explain it, I'll offer you my explanation, or a bit of information into how my brain works on that. One of the things I keep teaching people is there is no one way to use the AO scanner. And that is something that if you're brand new to the AO scanner, or if you've been using it for a while, if you can grasp that concept, you'll go a long way. Instead of asking, what does this mean? Or what are you supposed to do with this? Or what are you supposed to do with that? Or how do you do this or that? Understand that you have a boatload of information and you are not expected to use every aspect of it. Most of you have cable television and most of you don't watch every single channel. But if you're inclined to sports, you might check out the sports channels. If you are inclined to soap operas, you might check out another set of channels. If you are inclined to reality television, you might be on Bravo. You might be on Lifetime. You might be on those specific channels. If you're inclined to movies, there's a completely different area of channels that you might be inclined to. But the goal of all of the channels is to provide you with information that will satisfy your mind. If you are inclined to vitals, you might dwell there. If you're inclined to comprehensive, you might dwell there. If you're inclined to inner voice, you might dwell there. The goal is not to get you to dwell in inner voice and dwell in vitals and dwell in comprehensive and dwell in Cephis and dwell in MindSync and dwell in all of the other nuanced areas of the scanner. The goal should be to find out what areas of the scanner resonate best with you and then figure out how you can use that area of the scanner to create treatment plans for yourself, to create wellness plans for yourself, plans of action, and scan yourself and optimize, but not dwell over every nuanced area unless you are a practitioner. Then that might do you some good. So what am I going to cover today? I'm going to cover what the AO scanner is, how it works, sorta, how it's useful for me and how it might be useful to you as a practitioner or somebody that's just trying to keep your own health up, somebody who's trying to help your family or your loved ones. And we're going to do question and answer. And so that is my goal for today. So as a person who has studied quantum physics for a while, the scanner wasn't a huge mystery to me. It wasn't an anomaly. We're going to start with Lawrence Swenson, the founder of Solex. Many of you already know his story. And one of the things that brought all of this about was Lawrence's need to help his son. Most of us have some sort of a story on how we got into this journey. My story was helping my own health, helping the health of those around me, family members. And I've have a long past of starting out as a health coach. And well, first I started cooking good foods and then going into a health coach and then going into a plant-based chef and then deciding I need to just do the full shebang and become a naturopath and going back to school for that. When your family members are hurting, that's a powerful reason to learn something. And Lauren adopted a son, and his son had some troubles. And his son, from his vantage point, if he didn't get help soon, would have troubles that would have been affecting his entire life. So at an early age, he went down this path of learning how the body works, but in specific to his son. And that's a long story. That story is on YouTube. Hang on one second. All right. That story is on YouTube. And I just got the craziest message from my computer. So well, first of all, I can tell I'm going to have to go back and edit this file. But I want everybody to hold on while I do something really, really quickly. Otherwise, everything is going to stop. All right. All right. So he did what he needed to do in order to help his son. Sorry. And when all of that happened and his son started to resolve the issues, he took further steps in helping us and learning a little bit more. So I'm going to play part of the video where he talks about what happened after he resolved things with his son. Watch this.
We learned about frequencies. We learned about different therapies. We learned about our belief systems. We learned about what we say to ourselves, how all of these things affect us. Well, in 2008, my wife and I were in China attending a medical convention, and there was a booth there from Russia that had developed a scanner that scanned the body through frequencies through the brain. Well, this was my new real big interest, and we went to their booth. We experienced a scan, a digital body scan with these big transducers on our head, and it nailed us. It showed us everything that was wrong or awry in our bodies to the T. Well, we later worked with that company and acquired the rights to bring that to the United States. And we did that until about 2012. And then when technology had advanced, in other words, Windows 10 came available, the software wouldn't be stable anymore. And as we worked with the company, they had decided to bag it. The software had been written in the late 80s, early 90s on software that nobody supports anymore. And so they basically says, you're pretty much on your own. And so over the next 2 to 3 years, we rewrote all of that software, all of their information on today's technology and for today's platform and software. And it became the AO scan. And we've been promoting the AO scan since 2012. And it was a big system. It was a $30,000 scanner that was in a doctor's office, and you'd go in and you'd sit there and you'd be there anywhere from an hour to 3 hours, depending on your scan, based on the old technology. Well, we were able to bring that technology to where we could get it done with much smaller transducers, and we could do it in about 45 minutes to an hour. Well, part of that scanner was inner voice, and the inner voice is where we record about 10 to 20 seconds of your voice, and we analyze 2,000 frequencies over 12 notes. And we're looking for frequencies that are out of range, way high or way low. And as you listen to those frequencies played back in your headset, it helps with your emotions, which helps with some of the other physical issues you'd be dealing with. Well, we thought that would be an amazing tool to put into the hands of as many people as we can. If you can get a hold of your emotions, then your physical issues aren't as dramatic and you're able to deal with them better. And so we started working with a mobile device that just had the inner voice portion of the scanner on it. Well, as that became ready to go to market, and that was about $2,000 for that device, and then a monthly fee of about $200 a month to maintain the software. We realized, well, maybe we can add a little bit more of the other scanner to this, and we added a little bit of vitals and a little bit of comprehensive, and we introduced it. And that went for about a year and a half. And then we had people come to us and say, we need to get this out to the masses. And that's how Solex came to be. The full $30,000 scanner in your hand that you can now take and share with the world.
All right, so that brought us to where we are right now. Now, there are many, many more scan or frequencies that are in the scanner since that time. And so let's go over some of these things, why don't we? So let's talk about the AO scan technology. Here we go. So here's some of the programs that are inside of the AO scanner. You have the quick scan. You have the supplement library. We're going to touch on some of these. You have the easy scan. You have inner voice, vitals, hormones, comprehensive, body systems. You have dental and homeoenergetics, Cephes, MindSync. Now, some of this require additional training before it's open, but this gives you some idea of the things that are actually available in there for those of you who are brand new. And I'll tell you this, many of you who are working with other people, they are offering very many of you so many of these free scans so you can see for yourself. Or some people are offering the ability to utilize the system over a certain amount of time at low cost or no cost or whatever it is. You know, each person is going to be doing this a little bit differently. However, most people will give you some sort of way to test this out. So let's start with inner voice. You have 10 seconds. It analyzes thousands of frequencies and it identifies 4 emotional imbalances. Now, when you get that back, you're going to get 4 reports, and those 4 reports are going to correspond with 4 notes. The 3 highest note and the 1 lowest note. Things about those notes. Those notes are frequencies that were picked up from your voice. And if you did what's known as an inner voice with vitals, also frequencies that are picked up with your biofield. And if you're doing both of those things, you're going to get a little bit more detail in your report that's going to show you vitals and potential causes and things from the body that relate back to that particular note or that system of body or that body system. And those of you who've taken my inner voice class inside of Solex University or taken my AO Scanner Simplified course inside of my membership, you know that I teach you that from the inner voice alone, you're able to do incredible things and to learn incredible things about the body and how the body works. There's so much that you can learn from those reports, and it just picks it up right from your voice and your biofield and delivers it back to you. But here's the thing about that report. If you're not inclined to read and analyze the report, it delivers to you the medicine that's necessary to clear out everything on the report. So you don't have to study the report if you don't want to. You don't have to go over and over and over the report. What you can do is listen to the sound therapy, because the frequencies that are underneath the tones or the music, the frequencies that are underneath there help to balance out everything that you're seeing. So it doesn't just analyze, it also gives you the medicine that's necessary to balance out that entire system. So clicking on those paused tones will do an eons of good in balancing out everything you see. And don't dwell on it because it's going to change tomorrow. Frequencies change constantly. And because frequencies change constantly, dwelling on any one frequency that might be out of balance is problematic. Don't dwell until you constantly see the same thing over and over and over again. And when you see that, you know that we're past just the frequency stage. We might be into something else. All right? More on that potentially later. So we have MindSync. Now, MindSync is something that I really love. I was one of the people who tested out MindSync and helped to bring it to market. But you have affirmations. Now, most of you have been doing affirmations for quite some time, and you know that affirmations are mostly, when you're listening to them, somebody else. Or you're in the mirror and you're talking to yourself. But most people listen to affirmations in their ear, and it's somebody else's voice. Well, when you're hearing somebody else's voice, it has power. But when you're hearing your own voice, it has more power. And with MindSync, we are able to give affirmations and speak them into our devices or computers. And it spits it out with a frequency underneath it that we can listen back and reprogram our subconscious minds, reprogram our belief systems, reprogram our ability to heal. So I'm sure many of you have had situations or seen people where a cold is going around the office, a cold is going around the house, and you're looking at this person get sick and that person gets sick. Every single time you look at a person get sick and you say to yourself, I'm next, what you've basically given yourself is a command. As a man or a woman thinketh, so is he or she. And when you give your body a command, the body is intelligent enough to understand that your higher being, the part of you that can think, the part of you that can resonate, the part of you that can give orders and commands, is to be obeyed. And when you tell yourself, I'm next, the body has no choice other than to say, so be it. And 80 to 90% of the time, you are next. Next thing you know, you're coming down with a cold. You're coming down with the flu. You're coming down with the latest virus that's going around. How many of you have studied Google in order to figure out what's wrong with you? Because you say, oh, I think that this thing is wrong with me. And now you find a disease name to it. And you look up the thing that gives it its meaning. You look up the condition and you look up the whatever description that they give. And you say, this is me. This is me. And the more you say that, the more you resonate at the frequency of what you speak. And the more you resonate at the frequency of what you speak, the more your body says, so be it. As you thinketh, so you are. And now you're resonating more of those frequencies and more. And now by the time you get to the doctor, you're just telling the doctor, you're diagnosing yourself. You're telling the doctor what you have, and the doctor's writing you a prescription. Actually, half the time, you don't have to go to the doctor anymore. You call it, doctor, I've got this. I've got that. The next thing you know, Walgreens is texting you saying your prescription is ready. Why? Because as a man thinketh, so is he. And when you get that antibiotic, it probably will help to clear it up because you also have trust in that. You take the antibiotic expecting it to work. And so it is the expectation that has more powerful than the substance. As you think, so you are. And so with MindSync, we can give ourselves instructions. We can change the way that we think. And when we change the way that we think, as you think, so it is. And underneath the affirmations that we give ourselves when we're utilizing MindSync is a frequency that's designed to get right into the subconscious mind to make that go faster. That's in the scanner. And it's in the scanner at no charge, no extra charge. Supplement library. So how many of you have supplements that you're taking? How many of you have modalities that you're using? And you don't necessarily know whether or not your body is accepting these things or wants these things. Well, with the AO scanner, you can scan in the frequency of the supplement and see what supplement is resonating best with you. Helps making decisions. It helps not waste. It helps bring your the resources that you have to life. Now, if you're working with a practitioner, you might want to allow the practitioner to go ahead and guide you on that. I'm not trying to take you away from that, and you don't want to use it with your medicine. But for things that are not vital to your health, and you want to just know where your frequencies are aligned that day, there is a way to scan in the energy of your supplementation or the energy of your modalities and run a type of a scan to see what's resonating with you. It'll help you out a lot in the long run. Be more cost effective. Cephis. Cephis are thousands of frequencies that support illnesses, emotions, injury, and more. You can create your own lists. And when you create your own lists, you can broadcast them to yourself. You can send frequencies to yourself. And you can utilize that Cephi in order to resonate and balance things out and see whether or not the balancing out helps your energy field. The biggest problem, anytime that you're sick or experiencing discomfort, something isn't resonating well in your body. Something isn't balanced in your body. The frequency of something isn't resonating at the frequency that it's designed to resonate with. And the complication or the side effect of that is pain, emotional discomfort, discomfort internally, digestion, other things that lead to disease. When we have a balanced system, the body is designed to fix all of these things. And if it can't fix it automatically, it's because there is something that is not resonating well. Cephi allows you to get in there to see whether or not from pure frequencies you can make a shift. So we have a vitals report. If you look at this vitals report, you're looking at what was out of balance prior to sending optimizing frequencies and what stayed out of balance after sending optimizing frequencies. Now, this is a report that people get really hung up on. This is a report that people get unnecessarily caught up in, because at any time, 24 hours a day, you're going to have thousands of things in your body that are not resonating on the proper frequency, because life happens. And you can't make a decision off of one frequency that did not balance at one time. And one of the negatives from the AO scanner, from my perspective, is that it gives you so much information that if you don't know how to calm down your brain or calm down your mind, I really need to say that correctly, your mind, because mind and brain are two completely different things. Mind can expand, and the expansion of mind is as limited as the universe itself, which is ever expanding. The brain, if the brain starts to expand, you have trouble. You don't want expansion of brain, but you do want expansion of mind. And the ability to expand your mind is what's going to help us all. But going back to the frequencies of the vitals, if we are not able to calm down that mind, some of us lose our minds looking at some of these reports. And that is the reason that you need to understand that scanning and optimizing your system will take care of 90% of what's going on. If you really want to deep dive, there are people who can teach you how to do that. But if you don't want to deep dive, scanning and optimizing your system is going to, every day, sometimes twice a day, is going to give you much more health than doing so many different things. Have a comprehensive report. Now, the comprehensive report really gets into the physical body, not just the blood and how the blood is resonating on a frequency level, but how your organs are resonating, how your bones are resonating, how your skeleton is resonating, how your vertebrae is resonating. And you can look at specific things in the body to determine how far from ideal the frequency of it is. Again, if the frequency is not resonating properly, that doesn't mean that the whole body part is to be thrown away or even in shambles. Sometimes energy is other places in the body. You don't really need to worry about it unless you continuously see a body system that is out of balance. So, scanning yourself, sending optimizing frequencies to yourself, that is the key in doing it over and over and over again so that the body continues to have what it needs to heal. You don't just water your plants one time, and it doesn't just rain one time. You water your plants regularly so that the plant or whatever you're trying to grow can take that water, pull it into its soil, and then all of the magic happens then. You see things grow up, but it's going to need more water to continue that process. You do it one time, you might see a little bit of a result, but then everything dies. Because what it needs in order to grow is missing. You need frequency in your body to continue to move frequency around. So continuing to scan and optimize is more important than obsessing over reports. That's your comprehensive report. We have scans that you can utilize on your animals. Scan, optimize, play tones for them. frequency. All of your body systems have a specific frequency, and the same is happening in every animal. We have hormone reports that allow you to look and see whether or not there's too much or too little energy happening to the hormones. And with the hormone report, it's the same thing. Can't look at one report to determine the condition of your hormones. You have to look at hormones over time. So, how do we use this? Utilizing it for preventative health, scanning your system, optimizing your system, determining what's resonating. That is preventative health. And so that's the AO scan technology. Now, how the heck does all of that work? It works utilizing quantum entanglement, quantum physics, energy. Energy is all around all of us. How does it work? You see a sun out there. I talked about this at the last day of discovery. It's 93 million miles out. And in between the sun and in between the earth is space. It's cold space. Very, very cold space. But the energy from the sun is able to travel 93 million miles out and hit the earth. And there is an energy field around the earth. And when the frequencies from the sun hit those energy fields, it's able to redirect what it gets in frequency and turn it into light and heat. Now, you can be in between the earth and the sun and freeze to death. And you can also be down on earth and melt. How is that possible? Because there's an energy field that we don't understand. There's an energy field that allows frequencies to be sent, and then when they get to the earth, it does things that it didn't do as it traveled through space. Because energy is information. Frequency is information. And when the frequency of the sun comes through the earth and hits you, it does one thing. When it hits a plant, it does another thing. When it hits water, it does another thing. When it hits other specific animals, it might do a different thing. When it hits glass, it does a different thing. When it hits a metal, it does a different thing. When it hits stones, it does a different thing. But the frequency that goes to all of these things is the same. But quantum physics or quantum entanglement has so many nuanced things to it that we don't understand, but we accept them, and it's at play. I mean, if you've thought about someone and your phone rang a few minutes later and it was that person, or you looked on Facebook and that person popped up, or you went to a store and you saw that person after thinking about them, you've tapped into energy that none of us understands, but it's happened enough times that we just accept it. How many of you have felt that someone is staring at you or following you, and you looked around and surely you were right? All of us, we all have an energy field that's around us, a biofield. And this interactive biofield is constantly sending and receiving messages 24 hours a day, very much like the cell phone. It looks stagnant, looks like it's just sitting here, but it's sending messages and it's receiving messages constantly. Your biofield is doing the exact same thing. How does the AO scanner communicate with you? It communicates with you through two things. First, it establishes a profile on you. One of the things that it uses is the sound of your voice. That frequency in your voice does not change. And it uses other things to establish your frequency. And once your frequency is established, it can contact you wherever you are and contact that biofield. I've got a nephew, and I believe oh man, how old is he? I'm gonna just take a guess. I'm sorry, Cobbs, if you happen to ever see this, but I think he's around 11. And I have pictures in my phone of him as a newborn baby. and I have pictures of him from a couple of months ago. And my phone popped up with a collage of pictures of him from when he was a newborn baby to now. And it knows that it's him. I didn't do this. His frequency has not changed, even though what I'm looking at has changed. And I would defy someone to take a picture of him as a baby and take a picture of him now and know that this was the same person. Just know it 100%. Phone got it at 100% because the phone has no emotional attachment to my nephew. It's only looking at the frequency that emits from his face. Now, to me, he looks like a completely different person. But again, it got it right 100% of the time, all the way from birth until right now. Hundreds of pictures. Not one of them was wrong. And I would say he looked like about 5 different people in these images. That's because your frequency is specific to you. So having a picture of a person, finding out when they were born, finding out what their voice sounds like, all of these things are used to create a frequency profile. And when a frequency profile is made, resonance can start happening. Now, how does it know when something's out of balance? I did a Google search right before we started here. I'm going to just pull up my my Chrome browser. I typed in, what frequency does the liver resonate at? This is the response I got. According to current research, the liver typically resonates at a frequency of around 60 hertz when measured. 60 hertz. What the hell does that mean? I don't know. The only reason I'm pulling it up is to show you that it is determined what frequency the liver resonates at. Somebody's done the research. They know what frequency the liver resonates at. All right? Let me just do another one really quickly. Just going to change it. I'm going to change it from liver to heart. The heart typically resonates at 0.1 hertz. I'm curious about the brain. The human brain resonates at a range of frequencies, including 8 to 14 alpha waves, 13 to 30 beta waves. My point here is we know what organs resonate at. So if we can determine what an organ resonates at, and we can check your biofield against that resonance, we can determine whether your system, your brain, your heart, your lungs, your liver, your connective tissue, your left knee, your right knee, we can determine whether or not it resonates at the frequency that it's supposed to. And if it doesn't, is there too little energy or is there too much energy? And if there's too little energy or too much energy, we can then send frequencies to how it's supposed to resonate. And then after doing so, we can look back at it to determine whether it's still resonating properly, whether it now is too high or too low, or whether or not there's been some sort of a shift. The difference is understanding that everything is frequency, and that's a hard thing for people to grasp. But when you understand that everything is frequency and everything has a frequency, it allows all of this to make more sense. So I did not desire to keep you all night, and it looks like we're 45 minutes into this. So I'm going to cut short some of the things that I was going to go to, and I'm going to start getting to questions. So there's a couple of ways to ask questions here. I would love it if you could keep your questions concise so that I can just try to answer them if I know the answer. If I don't know the answer, I'm not going to pretend like I do. Some questions I won't be able to teach a lecture on because some things require you to really go deep. So there's a couple ways to do it. If you are in the Zoom and in the class, just hit the reactions button and raise your hand. I would appreciate it if you could turn your camera on when you raise your hand, and I will bring you into this class so that we can talk about your question. if you are in the chat or on YouTube, and you want to ask your question there, type the letters QQ before asking your question. That's because I'm looking at the chat; it's going nuts. And so, in order to be able to differentiate the questions from what I'm seeing in the chat, I need for you to type the letters QQ, put a space, and then type your question, and that will allow me to bring it in a little bit differently. All right. So it does not look like any of the people that are in our Zoom has any questions, because I see literally no hands up right now. So if there are no questions there, I'll go on to some of the questions that were asked prior. See, I say that, and then Ruth came along and started asking. So hang on, let me go back over here. Oh, that's from something else. All right. All right. It looks like my question and answer is not going to be working, so I'll just read them. I use frequency for acid reflux, but it's not working. Well, then you're using the wrong frequency. You're probably, the frequency for acid reflux, it would be a frequency that's designed to deal with the common things in reference to acid reflux. And so you need to figure out the root problem of what's causing acid reflux. Is it something in your upper digestion or lower digestion? Could it be your large intestine or your small intestine? But if it's not working, if a frequency doesn't work, and you'll know pretty quickly, then there are some other things that you might need to do. And sometimes your problem has more to do with the physical, meaning we got to the frequency stage a long time ago and we ignored it. And if you were to break your leg, then you might also need doctor's care. You might need to have your legs set. You might need a cast while using frequencies to help expedite healing. But the frequency itself isn't going to put the leg back together, at least not very fast. So if a frequency isn't working, there are some other things you might want to start looking at. And with acid reflux, that probably has a lot to do with the balance of acid in your stomach. And you might need to look into that. All right. Hi, Dr. Darrow. Can you answer a question about homeoenergetics module? I would need to know the question more specifically. Brian has his hands up in the group. Really? I don't see it. Hang on. Maybe that's my system. So I don't see, Brian, if you want to come on, go ahead and, yeah, but I don't see his hand. Oh, you know what? People may have actually been raising your hand physically. I see that's what you're doing, Brian. I can't, there are too many people in here. I cannot physically see people who are raising their hand. So I need you to do it via the reactions. However, Brian.
Hey, how you doing?
Go, hey, I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. The question I have, the AO dots, how many can you put on at one time?
Are you talking about the Cepheid dots?
Yeah, the Cepheid dots.
There is no limit to how many you can put on at one time. However, my suggestion would be to not utilize a bunch. My suggestion would be to, hang on one second, Brian, I'm going to mute everybody and then I'm going to have you unmute again. All right, go ahead, Brian, unmute one more time. All right.
Okay.
My suggestion would be to not use a bunch of Cepheid dots, but put all of the frequencies that you want in one Cepheid dot so that you're not utilizing a bunch at one time.
Yes.
But you can utilize a bunch at one time. From my perspective, it's wasteful though.
Yeah, I got you.
All right.
Okay. Thank you, buddy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Let me do this. And hang on one second. I see a hand. All right. Bassini family, go ahead and unmute yourself, please. I cannot hear you. You're not unmuted.
Okay, now.
There
Can
you
hear me
go.
now?
Hey.
Thank you.
Oh,
How are you?
I am great. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks.
Thanks for being on here with me.
Yeah, it's so cool. That the question I had about the homeoenergetics module.
Yes.
So if something scans for a higher benefit over the 85% and a 5, so there's no stress in one area of the body, but then it doesn't in another area or another system. It shows a lower benefit or stress. How do we reconcile that?
You know, that's that's one of those things that would really take a lot to really try to go into. But the short of that is to look and see whether or not it's resonating in any particular area of the body over and over and over again. Everything that you're looking at when you're looking at things in the scanner, not just in homeoenergetics, but in other places as well, what it's looking at is how it relates to that area. So let's get out of homeoenergetics for 1 second. Sometimes you might find things that resonate in the liver area on the vitals, right? But then you go to the liver on comprehensive and you're not finding an imbalance difference. That's because it's looking at it from a different perspective. One way is looking at it from the blood perspective, and the other way is looking at it from a more physical standpoint. How is the blood frequency affecting the liver, or how is the liver affecting the blood frequency? And another another way might be, how is the connective tissue or the veins or the arteries, how is that affecting the liver? And neither one of them is telling you that the liver is bad or wrong. It's just showing you where the frequency differences are off. When you start going into the homeoenergetics and the further benefit, it creates a lot of a deeper conversation, because even there, you're going to get different reports when you go back in, and trends matter. I can't go much deeper into it in this setting because that gets really, really deep,
Sure.
but trends matter a lot. And you then also have to look at it and decide whether or not, once you start getting into that, you're looking at really much more practitioner stuff, and you have to decide whether or not this is the way or the method that I want to utilize and use. And sometimes it's actually telling you that this method is more valuable than other methods. But that's a much, much deeper topic that it would just take a lot to get into right now.
Okay. Thank you.
You're
Thank you so
welcome.
much.
Absolutely. All right. All right, let me see if there are any other hands here. I don't see any other hands here. So I'm going to go back over here to the questions that have been asked in the group or in the chat. For the hub used for Parkinson's settings, which is best, alpha, beta, gamma, or theta? That's going to depend on what your goal is. That's going to depend on the brain waves of the person and what you're trying to accomplish. Are they too active? Do you want to slow down the brain? Do you want to relax them? How are they having trouble sleeping? It has nothing really to do with the condition as much as it has to do with what you're trying to accomplish. So read the manual where it shows you which brain states are best for which things, and determine from the person where you want them to be. Now, when I use the hub, I pretty much use theta on everybody and every condition because I want them as relaxed as possible. That's my goal. The only time I don't do that is when I'm dealing with somebody who is too relaxed and I need to increase their brain waves, but I hardly ever see that. All right. The veins and arteries in my head pop up every day on the easy scan. I run all of the cardio frequencies, but it looks like it stopped there. So I don't know whether or not, since I can't pull it into the chat. Let me try one more time. Yeah, my system is just going through some things right now. So you're running in cardio frequencies. That the cardio frequencies probably are not the root of the problem. So let's find, you said the veins and arteries in the head pop up every day. What are your meridians doing? Are you having trouble flowing energy through your pericardial meridian, your lung meridian, your triple warmer meridian? Are you having trouble with your large intestine meridian? All of those meridians go through the head. They go through the head and they go through the neck. It could be that the energy is having a little trouble going through there, and that is affecting your veins and your arteries. It might not have anything to do with your cardiovascular system. In fact, I would suspect that it doesn't. Pertaining to the Excel sheets, did you add X's on the comprehensive? Patricia, so what Patricia is asking about, in my course that I teach, I provide spreadsheets. And in these spreadsheets that allow you to see, keep track of things and to see how your notes are in your inner voice scans, or how many things are showing up, but it's in category. Patricia, that really is out of scope for this class because most of the people here won't have any idea what I'm talking about. And so if you could ask that question in our mentorship group or in the AO scanner portion of it, so that everybody could get a benefit from it, everybody there will understand the question, and that will be a much better place. Or in one of our mentorship calls, I'll be glad to go over that with you. But for the sake of this, this is for the AO scanner itself and the subscription and the modules. All right. On the inner voice reports, what do the numbers on the top of the charts represent? All right. So here, let me show you my inner voice report. This is my iPad view. All right, let me go here to my inner voice and pull up my reports. So you have numbers on the top, and you look at the numbers. Now, in my class, I teach people, and this is whether you're in my mentorship or whether or not you've gotten the Solex inner voice course. The numbers, I can't say that they mean a specific thing, meaning one has nothing to do with whether or not it's good or bad. The way I teach this is you need to look at the numbers as they relate to one another. So just to shorten this up, I'm looking at these numbers here, and my highest number is 21. And then my next highest number is 15.8. And then my third is 13.8, and my fourth is 12.5. Now, from my vantage point, that 21.1 number is very much higher than its second number, 15.8, which is not a lot higher than the third number, which is 13.6. So from my vantage point, that 21.1 number is screaming. And that means that that particular note, F sharp, when I get down to it, yeah, it looks like Solex is having trouble pulling up my report. And so it's not pulling up this whole report, but you guys understand this. Most of you who have been in here, you look at this. Let me go out and just come back in and see whether or not it will display better. Yeah, it's not displaying very well, but you've seen this report and you know what it is. I'm going to be looking at that report with a lot more detail, and I'm going to be giving that report a lot more weight because the numerical value of it is out of balance with the rest. That's the short and skinny of it. It represents the frequencies, and I teach you that you need to look at the frequencies as how they relate to one with the other. So if they're all in the same range, you're dealing with balance. Remember, the inner voice report gives you 4 notes. It's always going to give you 4 notes. So you can't look at those 4 notes as this is what's wrong with me. No, it's going to give you 4 notes. And so even if your body is basically balanced, it still has to give you 4 notes. Now, when I teach it a little bit deeper, I teach you how to look and see whether or not those 4 notes are in balance with your body or out of balance with your body. Because even if your body is perfectly balanced, you're going to get 4 notes, and you're going to have information on each one of them. All right. Barbara's from the Netherlands. I like that. Dr. Darrell, will you be coming to us on the 30th and 31st in May? I don't know how to come into the call. Otherwise, I would. Barbara, you are, okay, I see. You are on YouTube. So yeah, you wouldn't be able to. You'd have to be on Zoom. I won't be at the European Day of Discovery. But I have said to myself that next year I'm going to make it. But this year I won't be there. Sorry. All right. Keep the questions coming. If you have any more, go to reactions and raise your hand. I am going to go to some of the questions that people have put already in our membership. Hang on. Where's that? Right. It did not load up. Everybody hold on a second. Let me pull it in manually. Where did it go? Did edit. All right. I need to do two things. I need to go back to this page, and then I need to pull this in. Hopefully I can do this right. All right, there we go. Oh, I'm telling you, technology really does create problems for me sometimes. All right, hold on. All right, there we go. All right, I am new to AOScan, and I'm glad I found you. My question is, can you make a suggestion on where to start to make the most difference, as it is still possible to register for your AOScan training? First of all, my AOScan training, yeah, my membership, actually, we just reopened it. It's open now for about 3 weeks. And so you can find that at drdarrellwellness.com/membership. And in my membership, all of the courses and classes that I do, including the AO Scanner Simplified, are at no charge if you are a member of the class. Otherwise, you pay for each individual class. All right. I also have the AO Infinity Wand, by the way. Thanks so much. Love it all. M. Tripp. All right. I don't know if it's a man or a woman, but Mr. or Mrs. Tripp. My suggestion on to start to make the most difference is to scan yourself, optimize yourself, do your inner voice, but listen to those tones because you need to give yourself the balancing frequencies with the tones and the balancing frequencies with inner voice in order to make the biggest difference. That is my suggestion to you there. Is there a way to save a custom comprehensive so I don't have to pick the 20 items I want to scan each time I need to do this custom? Comprehensive scans twice a day and picking them up each time gets old. I agree with you. No, right now, there is no way to do that. There is no way to save it. However, there is a little slight workaround that you might want to employ. I don't want to say you already don't know this, but just in case you don't, I'll show you. I am going to go over here to my comprehensive, and I'm going to pick custom scan. It really doesn't matter what I pick, to be honest, for this. And when I click custom, when I pick custom scan, it is going to of course it's not. Oh, you know why it's not going to do that? Because I just did something different. All right, I can't show you, but let me tell you. When you do a custom scan, if you go back in and you just click optimize frequencies, just optimize, it's only going to optimize the frequencies from your last custom scan. That's it. That's the only thing it's going to do. And so you can keep doing that, and then you can send yourself that report and send yourself that report if you want to watch the reports. And that way you can look and see how things are going over time. And so you missed the scan part, but you're getting the optimizing frequencies. And since you're getting the optimizing frequencies, it's just going to compare it to the last scan. If you don't like that concept, no, unfortunately right now, there is nothing else that can be done with that. I'm sorry. But hopefully soon. All right. If you run an inner voice and then a quick scan, could the frequencies you get be different? Also, what is optimizing, and do you always need to do it? When you optimize, do you need to wear the earphones or bone conducting headsets while you do it? Thanks. All right, so if you run an inner voice and then a quick scan, could the frequencies you get be different? So an inner voice and a quick scan are there to accomplish two completely different things. An inner voice is there to give you tones and frequencies underneath the tones that uses sound or your eardrum to balance out your body. A quick scan allows you to find out what supplements or modalities are best resonating with your body. They're two completely different scans. One of them might be homeopathics, and that's the only way that the two could possibly cross, but they usually don't. What is optimizing, and why do you always need to do it? So, going back to the liver comment that we had, if your liver is resonating with too much energy or too little energy, sending frequencies back to it of the correct frequency of the liver so that you can wake it up and say, hey, run at this rate. Waking the liver up so that you run at a specific rate, that's optimizing. So you're sending the optimal frequencies to the body to balance out what's not balanced. That puts the body in an energetic state to handle everything else you throw at it. That's the reason to optimize. That's the reason why you should always do it. When you optimize, you need to wear the earphones or bone conducting headsets while you do it. You do not. If you have it on, your body is going to get the vibration of the frequency and the sound of the frequency, but most people do not, and most people are not even in the same room. At this point, we are doing this across the world, and the person normally isn't connected to anything when that's happening. Do you believe that the vitamins and supplements in AO can actually substitute in oral form as efficiency is in the high 90 percentile and your body retains 10 to 20% of a capsule, gel, tablet, supplement? I know liquids are more completely absorbed. This is a little complicated, but let me just say this. When we're talking about imprinting, we're not talking about using substance anymore. It's a completely different delivery system. So when somebody takes an oral supplement, what they're doing is especially when they're dropping something underneath their tongue or using their tongue to bring it in, they're actually bringing the substance in through the membranes of the mouth or the throat. Or sometimes, when you're taking a pill, it's going down and it's going into the digestive system, and your digestive system is breaking it up. Or if it's going sublingual and it's going underneath your tongue, like a nanoparticle or something like that, that's taking it right into your bloodstream through your tongue. Going back to the question so I can get it right. Imprinting the vitamins into water is giving information to the water so that the frequency in the water can give information to your biofield. Completely different thing. And it's not that bringing it in through the mouth in this way is going to give you more efficiency. It wouldn't matter if you were drinking it, putting a Cephi dot on your body, putting a different dot on your body, imprinting it into precious stones and wearing it, sending it a Cephi through space and bringing it to your biofield. That information is being delivered in a completely different way, and it's not being broken down. So putting it in water is just an easy way to give or educate the body. It's not the same thing. So what people tend to do when they're utilizing supplements that are imprinted, most of the time they're not utilizing it in place of other supplements. Most of the time they're using it so that they can educate the body on what to do when they get the actual substance. Other times, they're giving it to the body in smaller doses so that the body doesn't need the actual substance. But it's not, you can't look at it in the same way as you would oral supplementation, because it's delivering frequency and information. It's not delivering the substance. And when you're delivering substance, things that are nanoparticles and oral will get in the system faster than things that have to go through the digestive tract. When you're dealing with frequency, those differences or distinctions, they're not the same. They don't even matter. It's just you pick your method of delivery. interpretation of highs and lows when it comes to toxicities and other areas of the vital systems in comprehensive scan. Sometimes it's hard to understand if you actively have something when different levels show up on vital systems in comprehensive. That is very difficult to understand. So when something is showing up as a 1 or a 9, what we're looking at is whether or not, well, if it's a 1 or a 9, it's not resonating properly. And so we're looking at whether or not that resonance off is too much energy or too little energy. Now, the reality is, right now, everybody listening to this has thousands of frequencies that are not resonating in your body. And when you do a scan, you happen to find the ones that are not resonating in your body properly at that moment. The next time you do a scan, everything could be resonating properly. It could have something to do with the time of day. It could have something to do with energy distribution. There are so many factors in the body that will make them 1 or a 9 now and a 5 in 2 hours. If the same thing continues to show at a 1 or a 9, then you've got potentially a problem. Most of us have an understanding of how our car works, in the sense that we know that if we take our car to a shop, they can put a little device up to it. And the device will show them over time what continues to pop up on the screen. I've given this analogy to people in my course over and over and over again. So if you are in my membership, forgive me, but most of the people here are not. So allow me to say it to them one more time. If you're driving a car through a mountain or around a mountain, and you're driving downhill at an angle, and you're going 75 or 80 miles an hour, you're putting a lot of stress on that car. You're putting stress on the wheels. You're putting stress on the struts. You're putting stress on the shocks. You're putting stress on the brakes. If you were to take a snapshot of the energy of your car and the stressors while you're going down this mountain around a curve at 85 miles an hour, which you should not be doing, by the way, it would appear that your car is in incredibly bad shape. The wheels are going to be stressed. The shocks are going to be stressed. The struts are going to be stressed. The brakes are going to be stressed. The engine is going to be stressed. The transmission will probably be stressed, because what you're doing is you're using a lot of the car's energy to maneuver in a way that is not optimal. And if you take that snapshot and you think that's the condition of your car, you'd be mistaken. Because once you got down that mountain and now you're driving on flat land, the shocks are no longer stressed. The struts are no longer stressed. The brakes are no longer stressed. Why? Because now the car is operating in the manner in which it was designed, even though it's capable of operating in a manner that it was not designed. But when it operates in a manner that it's not designed, stress. When it's operating in a manner that it was designed, not stress. So if you look at it during one mode, you're going to think everything is bad. You look at it during another mode and you'll say, oh, everything is fine. It was stressed, you just didn't know it. The problem, and the good, with the AO scan is we get to see all of it. And that creates a problem. So if you just had a Big Mac, your liver might show some stress. If you just took some supplements, your liver, even though the supplements are good for you, your liver has to process the supplements that you took, which is going to raise the frequency of the liver out of the optimal range while it's doing it. At a certain point, things are going to go to the kidneys. At another point, food is going to go to the pancreas. And if you take a snapshot of your body while the food is being processed and the fat is being metabolized, you might show stressors in the pancreas. But if every time you do a scan, you show stressors in the pancreas, that is when you have to worry. Just like if every time you were to look at the frequencies of your car, if every time the brakes showed times of stress, if every time the shocks and the struts showed signs of stress, no matter what the conditions of the car ride is, you might have a problem. If your scanner shows you the same thing all the time, you might have a problem. But the fact that you can have a 1 or a 9 and then it goes back to a 5 shows you that your body was able to take the stress, handle the stress, and then return it back to its optimal state. You have a lot of people who are really sick and the body is not able to recover from that. So look at that as a blessing, not a curse. All right, I had to come back full screen with that because I needed to really look at you in the eye and explain that. That is why things show up out of balance and then come back and then they're not anymore. One more. Can you give a detailed explanation of each human picture in the inner voice scan report? Well, I can't do that right now, but I did do that. The person who asked that question, I'm pretty sure you are in our membership. So you can go to the Meridian class, the Meridian module, and I go through each of the inner voice notes and we go through the body portion of it and we talk that through. All right. If you have any questions, go ahead and click reactions and raise your hand. If not, we'll be wrapping up very, very shortly. And for those of you who are here, we do have our membership and mentorship. It's back open. Let me quickly tell you all about that. It's called the Quantum Wellness Portal, and it's back open right now. Inside of that membership, you get access to thousands of recipes of all different dietary types. You can create meal plans and shopping lists and email yourself recipes. It's a blast what goes on in there. Also, we have thousands of imprintable frequencies that you can use various objects like IC glow pads, or you can use your transducers. I teach you how to use those. They're called infoceuticals. Some things that are not in the scanner we have inside of our membership. We also have meditations, affirmation, creative visualization, and sound therapy. Now, our sound therapy is really growing to the point that we have frequencies in there that you can listen to for various conditions. And it's really growing, and it's kind of cool. We have charts there. So now a lot of you all have these new lasers, and some of you have the transducers, and other people have the illuminator, and and the wand, and you don't know what to do with these things. Well, we have charts inside of our membership for all of the various conditions that you might have. Ear charts and body charts, and we show you exactly what points to stimulate in order to bring about balance to different things. And the lasers, now that the lasers are out, for those of you who have the hub, these points on the ears, you're going to find immeasurable benefit for those. If you have the wand, I would use the body points, not the ear points. Training classes. So those who are in my membership, all of the training classes are absolutely at no charge. You don't pay for any of the training classes, not even the AO Scanner Simplified course. All of it is included as long as you maintain your membership. If you are in need of additional support, we have support calls where we are going over the scanner. Right now, right now, we're in the phase of the AO Simplified class where we're dealing with case studies, where we're looking at various scans and connecting the dots. Very, very cool. All of the archives of all of the classes are there. All right, so the AO Scanner Simplified course is included. That's a $275 value because that's how much it costs right now. But when we get to the next module where we're talking about the hub, it goes up to $350, just so you know. But if you have the membership, it's included with the membership. We also have twice monthly calls called What Would Dr. Darrell Do? Those calls are very similar to this, where you just come in and you ask your questions and I give you my thoughts or my analogy or the benefit of my experience. Really, we talk about scans, we talk about things having to do with natural health or supplements or really whatever questions you have. We just get together as a group for an hour and talk. And if you miss it, watch the watch the replay of it. Ask anything. Now, those are going to be upped to support more Solex stuff, because there's most of the people in my membership at this point have Solex subscriptions. All right, everything is included in the membership. So we have openings. We're not always opening and taking new members. Right now we are. You can either choose the $75 per month, or the $175 per quarter, or the $575 per year. Because we had some issues with the membership and people being able to sign up, it was supposed to end at March 1st. Now it's going to end on April 1st. So use the QR code there, or you can go to drdarrellwellness.com/membership and sign up if you want. No big deal if you don't. All right. Are there any more questions? There's a lot of people here and not a whole lot of questions of people who want to come on. I understand a lot of people don't want to come on. All right, let me come back to the questions that have been typed. All right, it looks like there are no more that were there, at least not where they put QQ next to it. All right, so what are we to learn here? If you were invited here by somebody, the goal was to give you a different type of a training. My trainings are a little different from what you might be used to. And to just give you an understanding as I understand it. The AO scanner, there is no one way to use it. So you're going to find people who utilize it differently, and you're going to find your own way to utilize it. Go back to that person and ask them, hey, how do I sign up? If you want to sign up. If you're dealing with a practitioner, how can I get a scan? If you're dealing with someone who might be offering you the ability to utilize a scanning system for a certain amount of time, reach back out to that person. Since the questions have stopped, I'm assuming all questions have been answered, and say, okay, I got it. I understand. If you're here from me, if I'm the one who invited you to this and you haven't been working with anybody and you want to sign up for the AO scanner, well, you have my contact information. Reach back out to me. The goal here is to get a deeper understanding of how the AO scanner works. And I'll probably start doing some of these calls more often, just to give people a way to get in and ask questions. I know that sometimes questions that are asked are dismissed. Sometimes people are a little dismissive of your questions. And listen, they mean well. Very often it's because some people don't know the answer. And there is this thing in human nature where we don't like to say, I don't know. I don't have a problem saying I don't know. If you ask me something that I don't know the answer to, I'm going to tell you I don't know. And if I'm inclined, I'm going to try to find the answer for you. All right. So thank you all. This went way longer than I had anticipated. But go ahead, learn frequency, balance your body out. If you need to contact me, my website is there. For those of you who wondered whether or not this was going to be recorded, absolutely. Just whatever link that, or whatever email that you got, you should have gotten a link that showed you the YouTube page. That YouTube link will be the archive of this, so you can just go right back to it. All right? Thank you all. And I will, oh, wait a minute. Here I'm leaving and Barbara's asking a question. Hang on. Let me get in here. Thank you so much, Dr. Darrell. This was great again, even though it's in the middle of the night. Oh, it was well worth staying awake. Barbara, you're just so sweet. I need to come to the Netherlands now. I got to get there. Hopefully we can meet when I get there. All right, everybody. Thank you all so much. And you all have an absolutely wonderful night. And I look forward to talking to you all again soon. Thank you.